Hi guys, it's
Lauren Daisy.
welcome back to my channel and welcome to Gossip Girl Week. I decided that it would be kind of fun to honor Gossip Girl Day. If you didn't know, fun fact for you, Gossip Girl actually has a dedicated day in New York. It is January the 26th. And so that is Gossip Girl Day in New York. It was declared that by Mayor Bloomberg, I think it was, at the time that they had their 100th episode, because obviously, you know, Gossip Girl in its essence is a kind of love letter to New York. So they kind of wanted to show them a little love back, give them a day, why not? Starting from today, which is Thursday the 19th of January, there will be a Gossip Girl themed video every single day up until next Thursday, which is obviously the 26th, which is Gossip Girl Day. So if you love Gossip Girl, then please subscribe. Also, just a little thing before we get started with today's video. I had nose surgery, just minor, just over a week ago now. So if my voice sounds weird, that is why, because it still hasn't fully recovered yet. Today, to kick off Gossip Girl Week, we are going to be ranking all of Blair Waldorf's love interests. So I already do a series on my channel like this for Pretty Little Liars. So if you want to watch those videos, I will link them maybe if I remember to, or if not, they're just on my channel. I have a playlist and everything. What we do in those videos is we go through every single love interest that character has had, and we rank them from the worst to the best, in my opinion, of course. And then at the end of that, I have a huge video ranking every single couple in that show completely. So I haven't posted my Pretty Little Liars one of that yet because it's just taking a really long time because there's 89 couples or something crazy. So obviously with Pretty Little Liars, I have an Aria, Spencer, Hannah, Emily, and Allison video each. And then obviously there'll be a big finale video. It'll be the same thing with this Gossip Girl version. So today we're doing Blair, but we will also have Serena, Nate, Chuck, Dan, Vanessa, and Jenny, and then an ultimate every single couple in the show, because then in that I also include the parents, I include random pairings like Poppy and Gabriel, or Eric and Jonathan, you know, that kind of thing, that don't get included in the main videos. So then you get to see my favourite overall Gossip Girl couple, and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun doing it, so I hope you like this series. And yeah, we're gonna get straight into it and go with Blair today. So Blair has 8 love interests for us to rank. I use the term love interest quite loosely. If they've flirted, if they've kissed, anything like that, then I will include them in this list. So that's just a little disclaimer, they're not all full-blown relationships. So at number 8, I have Jack. And I think it's probably quite obvious why I have Jack at the bottom.
Blair, you can come on out. Uncle Jack's here to help.
So it's revealed in season 2, I think it is, that Jack and Blair actually slept together on New Year's. I think it was just after her and Chuck had their huge fight, before they were actually together. And yeah, they ended up sleeping together. We never get any scenes of them really being nice to each other. It is always kind of a butting heads situation. I have him at the bottom of this list because he's so much older than her. I mean, consider the ages is kind of a bit weird because Bart, no shade, is obviously old. That man is old. So why is Jack so much younger than him? At least he looks that much younger than him, but he can't be, 20 years younger than him because that just wouldn't work. So he's got to be I don't even know how old, 40? At least 30. At least 30. Come on now. Because Bart, there's no way Bart's younger than 50, right? Oh, okay, there's a Reddit thread. I love a Reddit thread, come on now. Yeah, everyone's saying probably around the same thing, that he's late 30s, early 40s probably, which is fucking gross. Okay, that is fucking nasty. The age gap relationships in these teen shows is just insane. I had to put him in the bottom, firstly because he's way too old for her. We are talking at least 20 years older than her. And they slept together in, I think the end of the first season, or I think it was the end of the first season. Or something like that. Anyway, whenever it was that they slept together, I can't remember exactly how, because we don't actually see the scene, it's just like talked about afterwards. She's like 16, 17, maybe 17 at the absolute most. So what the fuck? That is nasty. Like, he's at least like 20 years older than her. So that's fucking weird. Like, I get why they did it, because obviously it was a whole, like, you know, Chuck hates him, big enemy, you know, like the love of his life, sleeps with the biggest enemy of his life. Like, I get it. I get the gist. But he was just way too old for that to work. Like, it was just so fucking weird. Also, Jack is like a huge villain in this show. I feel like towards the end, he kind of, I don't even know if he redeemed himself, but towards the end, he has more of a Georgina kind of air about him. So it doesn't surprise me that they ended up together. I actually thought that was a pretty good pairing. In the end, obviously, he, kind of redeems himself, helps Chuck. He becomes, like Georgina-esque. He's kind of evil, but also he does it in a funny way, has funny, like, one-liners, and I think he becomes more likable in the later seasons. But in the earlier seasons, he's real horrible. He's a real nasty piece of work, and especially when he literally tries to assault Lily. Do we all just forget that happened, or... Jack was an easy one to put at the bottom of this list. At number 7, I have Marcus, okay? Do you guys even remember Marcus? Because when I was making this list, I'd completely forgotten about him.
I'm British and a lord.
What?
Marcus Beaton, I think he's called, is introduced in season 2, and he's kind of a guy that Blair starts seeing just to try and make Chuck jealous, to make it seem like she didn't care that he, you know, kind of abandoned her at the end of season 1. But she obviously doesn't like him. He's British, which, oh God. Anytime there's a British character in these shows, they're always like the fucking worst. Like, why is that? But anyway, I digress. He's like, you know, lies about who he is and stuff, and it's a whole thing. But it turns out that he's a duke or something, or I don't think he's a prince. I don't think he's a prince, but he's like some kind of British royalty, or like British, some weird shit. Anyway, he's got loads of money and he's got a title. So then Blair starts to be actually interested in him, because, you know, Blair's always wanted to be a princess. He honestly gives me like, this is such a niche reference if you don't know anything about like the Bratz movies, but he gives me like Nigel Forrester, Duke of Essex. Like, that is what he's giving.
I'm Nigel Forrester, the 9th Duke of Essex.
So, it's just such an ick. So he's going out with Blair, and she doesn't really like him that much. And then it turns out that he's sleeping with his stepmother. Not one of her best relationships. He's literally sleeping with his stepmother. He turns out to just be so, like, rude and just all this stuff. He's just, like, weird. But, like, at the same time, he's, like, fully being groomed by this woman. So, like, I also, you know, I do feel bad for him as well, because he's stuck in this weird toxic relationship with his own stepmother, which is all very weird. But we're just talking about Blair. So, for Blair, he was not a good partner for her. Not even a little bit. Yeah, he like completely goes away, basically, by the end of season 2. I don't even think he's in that much of season 2. I think Catherine, the stepmom, she like plays a bigger role than he does anyway. So I don't really see him for long, and he's just like, nah. Like, even before the whole weird stepmother thing happened, like, he was just so meh anyway. So then at number 6, I have Carter Basin, which again was another kind of fleeting one. They're only together for 1 episode, I think it is.
Having a party all by your lonesome.
Except she's not alone.
Blair is kind of, again, I think this is season 2. Like the end of season 2, I think. She's kind of going through a more rebellious phase where, you know, she didn't get into Yale. Well, she did get into Yale, but then because of what she did to Miss Carr, she got rejected. And then, you know, she didn't apply to anywhere else. She's kind of having a bit of a crisis. And so she decides that she doesn't want to be, you know, the picture perfect Blair Waldorf anymore. And part of that is that she starts sleeping with Carter Basin. They're not really like dating, they just kind of like hooking up. And I think part of it is also that he's kind of the resident bad boy at that time, because obviously Nate and him are big enemies, so are him and Chuck. I actually love Carter. And that's not just because he's played by Sebastian Stan, though that does help. But I actually really like his character. I thought his character was really good. You'll see how I feel about him and Serena in Serena's video, but it's very positive. I like them a lot. I think he was definitely a better match for Serena than he was for Blair, but you know, he was just kind of a fun little love interest for her there for the minute. And he was, I think, only a year or two older than them, so like he's chill, he's not some creepy 4-year-old man, and he's also not, you know, sleeping with his stepmother, because obviously it was just a real brief fling, and I do think he's better suited to Serena. I have him at number 6. So at number 5 we have Cameron, who again might not be one that you remember so much. He is also quite fleeting.
Exposing scandal on the Upper East Side? Show me a world, Blair Waldorf.
He was in season 3, I think. Yeah, the end of season 3, I think it is. After, you know, the whole hotel thing has happened and Blair decides that she doesn't want to be with Chuck anymore. Is he also British? Or he's Australian? Am I making this stuff up? I feel like I don't remember this man at all. Anyway, he's literally in it for like 2 episodes. He's in it when Blair's like basically trying to kind of get back at, not get back at Chuck, but she's kind of trying to get back out there because Chuck's put this like hex on her basically that's like, you know, you can't go out with Chuck Bass's ex-girlfriend. She basically begs Dan to take her to this party that's like at NYU or it's in Brooklyn or something like that. And she wears like Vanessa's clothes and stuff, and they go. And she meets him and he's, you know, kind of realizes that she's trying to make Chuck jealous. And she has a really good character development with this guy, I feel like. Because it's while she's kind of like, you know, trying to force this thing with this guy to just kind of be on Gossip Girl kissing somebody else, she realizes that she doesn't want to do that. That when she, you know, is with whoever she's going to be with next and kisses someone for the first time, it's going to be for her. It's not going to be for a game to like get back at Chuck. And she decides that she actually is going to give him like a proper chance. They're supposed to go on a date and they like come to Blair and they're like, Blair, we need you for like scheming. So Cameron kind of tags along. He doesn't have very many lines. We don't really learn a lot about this man. And then it ends up, you know, that William gets exposed for obviously faking the whole cancer thing and getting Holland to prescribe medicine, yada, yada, yada. And at the end of that, then they, you know, continue their date and they're kind of like walking along and chatting. But Chuck has given her this ultimatum of, I'm going to wait at the Empire State Building. And if you don't show up, then like we're done forever. And she is trying to, you know, be with this Cameron guy and use that as a distraction instead. But ultimately she ends up just ending things with Cameron to go and try and meet Chuck at the Empire State Building. It's really short-lived, which is why I felt like I couldn't put it any higher on this list. Like it is literally so brief, like they're not even official like boyfriend and girlfriend or anything, but he seemed like a really decent guy and he seemed quite nice. So obviously I'm gonna have him higher up than who we've already talked about. So number 4, I have Louis, and I have him there because I feel like it would be easy to put him, you know, right at the bottom because he turns out to be like pure evil. But the reason I don't have him there is because I don't, like, he didn't start that way.
Well, then I promise to wow the tiara right off her head.
When he first is introduced, I'll be honest, I was never that keen on him. I think it's hard when you have a ship like Chuck and Blair because it's hard for things to come up against that. We're going to talk about that in a minute though. But it's hard for things to come up against that when there's this, so like, it's like that Taylor Swift song. Which one is it? It's like Mr. Perfectly Fine or something. And, you know, she talks about how there's this like nice guy and stuff. And he's obviously, you know, the good choice and he's sweet and he's kind of whatever. But then she still kind of loves the like more intense love, you know, the more like exciting, dramatic, like intense, like that kind of thing. And I think as well, when you're watching a TV show, it's only natural that that relationship is far more interesting and one that you want to be invested in more because it's more dramatic and it's better TV. Whereas Louis, he was nice, like he was really nice in the beginning and stuff, but I was just never able to get that invested in him. I just didn't really care for his character. But, you know, he brought some good storylines along with him. But yeah, I really loved, you know, when he kind of brought her the shoe. I thought that was really sweet because, you know, Blair's always kind of wanted her fairy tale romance. He was really sweet and he was a really good pairing for her. You know, Chuck says, I waited 2 minutes at the Empire State Building before I left. And Louis has waited all night for you to come back. And little things like that, I think he was a really sweet guy. And I think being involved in that Upper East Side world and just his insecurity towards Chuck and wanting to better him at every corner was his downfall. You know, he does some pretty shady things, like paying that therapist to try and make Chuck evil again, and then ultimately says to Blair, this marriage is an absolute sham. You will just be basically a PR wife for me. I don't want anything to do with you. I'll be honest with you, I kind of low-key don't blame this man. Like a little bit, like a tiny bit, because can you even imagine that shit? Like, can you even imagine that shit? Firstly, she makes it quite clear in the beginning that she was only interested in him because he was a prince, because he does that whole test where he pretends to be the driver, and then she's not interested anymore. Then he comes back, and, you know, they're supposed to be together, and she tries to leave him for Chuck twice. Yeah, twice. Firstly, when they first get engaged, she says yes to his proposal and then goes and sleeps with Chuck at that bar mitzvah. And then after that, when, you know, she finds out that she's pregnant and everything, she decides that she wants to be with Chuck again, and they're supposed to run away together, and then that's when the car crash happens and she ultimately goes back to Louis. Because of God, you know, because she's got this pact with God and whatever. Then, on their wedding day, so he forgives all that shit. And also, you know, Dan and his whole book fiasco, where he said that they slept together in the book, but then they didn't actually sleep together. But because his book is like, kind of like based on true events, Louis thought that Blair had slept with Dan as well. So then she had to, you know, explain that the book was like, pure fiction, all this shit. And then in the end, you know, he's like, you know what, yeah, we're still gonna be together. Their wedding day, a video goes out on Gossip Girl as they are up there at the altar about to say I do. A video goes out of her saying that she loves Chuck, she loves him more and more every day, like, if that's even possible, but, you know, she's got to do this. Personally, that would be my villain origin story. Louis honestly became the most interesting when he went evil, I think anyway. That doesn't make him a good partner for Blair, but honestly, part of me like doesn't even blame this man. Can you imagine that shit? It's like, when I watch Friends, you know, I think Emily gets a bad rep, and I think it's the same thing with Louis. I don't particularly like them. Like, I don't like Louis, I've made that quite clear, but the shit that man puts up with until he snaps, like, I don't even blame him for snapping. It's like with Emily in Friends, you know? If I was up there, oh my God, on what's supposed to be the best day of my life, I'm in my wedding dress, like, I'm like, this is the person I'll be with forever, and then he says his ex-girlfriend's name, fuck that shit. Like, miss me with that shit. Can you imagine? Oh my God. And then she shows up to their honeymoon, and he's about to go on their honeymoon with the ex-girlfriend that he said the name of at the altar. Are you serious? The fact that she didn't leave him right there and there was mental. And her, you know, being like, I don't want you to see Rachel anymore, valid. Obviously we love Rachel because we know Rachel, and we know Rachel and Ross and whatever. But if that was you, if that was me, like, asking him to not see her anymore is genuinely like, that is child's play. That is fine. That is no biggie. And I think it's just, I've gone on a whole tangent there. But it's a similar thing with Louis where, can you imagine if someone did that shit to you? The disrespect is unreal. real. Like, I wouldn't even have done it. Obviously, you know, he said that it would have looked worse if he hadn't married her. So that was why he did it, but no way. I would have left. I would have left. When she like ran out of that altar, that would have been me gone. So yeah, then obviously, you know, he has his whole evil arc and we don't really see him that much after that. It's just kind of Blair talking about like the legalities of it and the dowry and everything like that. And I think as well, Blair realized that she was the one that made him that way, because she says that ultimately she just wants him to be happy with somebody else. That's why I have him at number 4, because in my opinion, he's not some like huge villain. I think he was just driven to that point by the sheer madness of the Upper East Side. So I have him at number 4 because I do think he was a good match for her until he was pushed to his limits. Okay, breaking into the top 3. It's obvious now who the top 3 is, but I would be really interested to know. Let me know in the comments, obviously your ranking in general, but also your opinion on these 3. Because we've got the 3 main boys here. And I'm interested to know where other people rank them. So number 3, I have Nate. And I don't know if that's like an unpopular opinion, if people would have him higher or if they would have him lower.
This time we're gonna be so much better together.
We already are.
My thing with Nate and Blair is that I think they were sweet. It's a similar thing with Carter, where I think Nate was a better fit for Serena. So I don't love him and Blair so much. I think when they got back together, it felt very forced, but I also think that was kind of the intention of the show as well. I enjoy their relationship the most in the flashback of Thanksgiving. I think that is really sweet, and it seems so much more genuine in the flashbacks before it's kind of obvious that things aren't working between them when we first meet them in season 1. And I think ultimately he never, well, maybe not never, but it just became apparent towards the end that he just didn't love Blair in the way that he loved Serena. And I think that was a real shame. But I think Nate is one of, if not the nicest character on this show. Especially out of the boys, he's definitely my favorite boy. I absolutely love him. I will roast that man though. Like if you watch my Ultimate Gossip Girl video or pretty much any of my Gossip Girl videos, I will roast that man to hell. That, like, his storylines are boring as. Like, I cannot stand his storylines, but him as a character, love that man. He's great. I think Nate is a good match for anyone because he's just so sweet and, like, is just, aside from obviously sleeping with the best friend, is generally speaking a pretty good boyfriend. Sometimes. He has his moments of weakness. So yeah, I think they were like sweet in that kind of high school sweethearts way. And I just really like how their storyline wraps up, that she kind of realizes that he was just for high school and she needs to kind of move on from that now. And obviously they get to go to prom together like she always wanted, and things like that, which I think make their relationship really cute. And even though I felt like it was kind of forced when they got back together season 2, I still thought it was really sweet how he met her at her favorite place where she, you know, feeds the ducks, to like have their new first kiss and stuff. I did think little moments like that were sweet, but ultimately I just think they just don't click. They're just too mishmashed. They're too mismatched. Why did I struggle so much with that? Anyway, now I feel like this is gonna be the real polarizing one. So we're at the top 2, and you know who's left. It's Chuck and Dan. They're the ones that are left, and I think there's a big divide on who should be second and who should be first. So obviously, yeah, let me know in the comments who you prefer out of the 2. I personally have Dan at number 2. Okay, I'm sorry. For me, I'm a big Dan and Blair friendship advocator.
Tell me what would make you happy, Dan.
I loved their friendship. It's one of my favorite parts of season 5. Yeah, season 5. And one of my favorite things about season 5 and season 4? Is it season 4 as well? A little bit? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. I loved their friendship. I thought they were so funny when they worked together at W, and then just becoming friends after that, the whole like them embarrassed to be friends thing. And I thought they were so sweet. I thought they were so funny. Their banter is just unmatched. Their dynamic was so good. I think as well, Leighton, who plays Blair, and Penn, who plays Dan, they also had really good chemistry together. Like, it just fit. And they just seemed like such actual genuine friends that just seemed to have like a bit of a laugh together. And she was on his podcast recently and things like that. So I think that kind of shows like that there was like genuine friendship there, which I think plays out on screen as well. For me, where they lose me is when it became a relationship, because even Dan kind of having this crush on Blair, I still enjoyed that. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was cute. And they do have really sweet moments, like when, you know, she realizes that he went to her poetry thing, or, you know, when he was like, you should deserve to feel like a princess, you know, takes her to the Met steps, everything like that. I loved that. And I think they've always had sweet moments, like even right from the very beginning. I think it's in the second episode or the third episode where they kind of have a heart-to-heart about their parents and the kind of struggles that they have just dealing with them, and telling them how they feel. So they've always had those kind of weird, sweet little like moments. So I thought it was nice to see them actually just be friends. But I think them dating to me just didn't sit too well. I just wish they could have just been friends. Like it would have just been nice if they had just been friends and stayed friends, because they were so sweet as friends, you know, and they would sit and watch movies on the phone like at the same time, and he was so there for her in a way that, like, I know that Serena and Blair are supposed to be the besties of this show, but Dan, I think, was a better friend to Blair at points. So I think it's a shame that they then dated, and when they started dating, he again got super jealous in the same way Louis did of Chuck, of, you know, thinking that Blair was still in love with Chuck and, you know, always questioning where they were going together and things like that, to the point that it fully broke them up, that he, you know, and the thing was, she was going to choose Chuck. She was always going to choose him. And that's what breaks them up ultimately, is that she wants to be with Chuck, but also that Dan is so convinced that she wants to be with Chuck that he then sleeps with Serena and cheats on Blair. Whereas Blair, even though, yes, she did want to be with Chuck, was going to wait until she could break things off with Dan first. And I don't like that side of his character. I think it's a weird... Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird side of his character. It was a weird, like, villain arc for him there for a little bit between season 5 and season 6. And ultimately, they go back to where they were in the beginning, which is what I think upsets me the most about their relationship. Had they dated and, you know, she decided she wanted to be with Chuck and whatever, that is fine, I guess. But it's the fact that it ruined the friendship dynamic that was so good, because, yeah, when they worked at W, when they were just such genuine friends, I loved that. And then you go from that to Dan hates her guts again for choosing Chuck. And then Blair, you know, disapproves of Dan dating Serena. Again, it's like season 1 all over again. And I think it's such a shame that that's how they end up when they were such good friends and they had such good chemistry together. That's why I have them at number 2. I know a lot of people really love them together. And I do, but just in that friendship way. For me, it was just a bit too cliche as well, I think, a little bit. You know, we already did the best friend and the boyfriend thing with Blair, Serena, and Nate. And Serena had always said that Dan was the love of her life. And I loved them in the early seasons. Like, season 1, Dan and Serena is honestly peak. Like, that is peak. That is, like, some of the best, like couples, whatever you want to call it, couple moments of, like, teen shows across the board. I got there in the end. It just felt weird. I don't know. For me, it was just so cliche of like, okay, who else can we put together at this point? It felt a bit unnecessary, and I just liked them as friends personally. But if you're a big Dare shipper, then I also get that too, you know. I feel that. That's fine. So that brings us to the number 1 spot, which obviously is Chuck Bass. There's been a lot more kind of calling out of Chuck recently, or well, what I seem to see, you know, online. I know that Chuck and Blair still have a good amount of chair shippers left. And to be honest with you, I am one of them. I got no shame.
Blair. Cornelia Waldorf. Will you marry me?
Yes, I will.
I think the criticisms of Chuck are obviously completely valid. And I think that the things that happen to them, I think they do have toxic moments, or 100%. I'm not saying that they're a perfect couple, but for me, I think out of everyone, they were the most enjoyable couple for me, entertainment-wise. I think I was the second that Blair stepped foot in Victrola on that fateful day. I think it's like episode 6, maybe. Okay, someone is doing some drilling outside, so if you can hear that, I sincerely apologize. But yeah, from the second that they first hooked up, I was invested. I was invested in that relationship so hard. I think Leighton and Ed had some of the most insane chemistry I've ever seen on TV. I can't even lie. I don't think I would love Chuck and Blair as much if they weren't the people that played them. I think they just captured it like to a T. It was just unreal. You know, and you have the whole like, will they, won't they? I personally loved them when they were just together in season 3, I think it is, while Blair's like going to NYU. That was such a cute time for them. I think they're really funny together as well. They bring some really good like comedic moments, but also like really dramatic moments. I tell you, some of their scenes and some of the like sexiest scenes I've ever seen on TV. I can't even lie. The one where they like are supposed to be hating each other and they're wearing like matching outfits basically, and then they are like, you know, like I hate you more, and then they like have sex. Like, stop it. That was crazy. That was crazy. The chemistry in that scene was absolutely insane. They were insane for that. And I just loved it. I was such a sucker for it. Anytime that they, you know, were going to get back together, like when they were going to run away together and he was going to help her raise her baby. And their wedding, I absolutely love. I think Blair looks so gorgeous. I just think the way that they wrote their lines, like the things that they say to each other, you're just like, oh my God, how can you not? One of my favorites is when Blair goes to see him in the train station in Paris and she's wearing that red dress. They just give you so many iconic moments, iconic quotes. Do I think we can call out Chuck's behavior? Absolutely. I mean, the hotel thing is absolutely horrendous. If you watch my like Gossip Girl video, you'll know exactly how I feel about the whole hotel business. I think that was just awful. But I think for me, you know, when I watch it, I still find their scenes so enjoyable, and I'm still glad that they ended up together. I really like, you know, obviously that they got married and then they had Henry. And I just loved that in the time jump they were together and they were happy, and Blair was running her empire. When like she sees about the plane crash on the news and she thinks that he's died, like, oh my God, there's just so many. There are so many of those like good like dramatic moments, and that is like what I watch these shows for. When she like talks him down like off of the ledge, and then oh my God, like at the end of season 5, I think it is, no, the end of season 4, when Russell tricks her into coming up to the roof like for revenge, by telling her that Chuck was on the roof and he was asking for her, and like, oh my God, stop it. It's good shit. I don't even care. So yeah, that is why Chuck is my number 1. I just think they were always destined to be together, like from the first time that they, you know, got together in the first season. And I think both of their character development is really good. I think Blair's it's a little bit shaky in season 6, which I think is a shame. With the whole Dan thing. But other than that, I think they both really develop across the seasons, which is nice. And also, you know, I think their relationship does, and they give us so many insanely good moments of TV that I couldn't put them any less. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. That is my official ranking of Blair's love interests. I want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Would you have put Dan at the top? Would you have put Nate at the top? Let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe if you want to see more Gossip Girl content, because obviously Gossip Girl Week is coming up. But also, you know, we've got all kinds here. We've got Pretty Little Liars. We've got 90210. I'm hoping to do some like Friends videos, Desperate Housewives, Riverdale, like all kinds of TV content coming up. I also have a Patreon that I've just set up. So if you wanted to support the channel, because I do all this on my own, you know, film, edit, all that fun stuff. And I also run a second channel that you can subscribe to if you like, that has more hobby-based stuff like doll collecting, wrestling, like that. More just like vlogs, just kind of like random videos. And then I also have 2 podcasts that I film and edit as well, with 2 of my best friends. So everything that I've got going on will be linked in the description if you want to go and look at that. But yeah, the Patreon is there if you did want to support this channel. That would be absolutely amazing. Obviously, you could still support by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing my videos with your friends, watching the adverts, all that kind of stuff as well. which I am very grateful for all of you that do those things. It is just so lovely. But yeah, if you do want to do the Patreon, it's in the description. Obviously, there's a whole list on there, more in depth of the things that you get with each tier. We've got 3 tiers: daisies, sunflowers, and peonies. But one of the big things that you can get on there is actually MP3 versions of my videos. So, you know, if you just wanted to listen to them kind of on the go or while you're studying or whatever that may be, those are available on there as well. So I think that's everything. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys liked it, and I will see you tomorrow for the next day of Gossip Girl week. Tomorrow, okay, this is what I will give away about tomorrow's video, if you've stuck around till the end, is that it will be about a character that I feel like Gossip Girl failed. So, have a guess in the comments if you like, but that video will be up tomorrow, so look forward to that, and I will see you guys then. Bye!